Just a quick upfront message before this minisode. It was written, recorded and edited before the fascist shitstorm that masqueraded as a presidential inauguration on Monday 20th of January. We did wonder whether to postpone its release, but decided against it, as some light-hearted satanic relief might be in order. We stand with the millions of reasonable US residents, many of whom will now be in fear of their own and their friends' and families' safety. Stay well, stay safe, and hail Satan. And fuck the whole God bless America neo-theocracy shit. And now, enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to Uncle Lithos' Sweary Tales. The Shepherd, Michael, and Eve. There was a shepherd who tended his flock, of sheep obviously. That's implied in his job title. He tended them well, at least he reminded himself he did, every evening as he quaffed his home brew, smiling at his obedient sheepdog, a border collie named Michael, who lay by the fireside, resting. Michael was a smart dog, as dogs go. By which I mean he could learn some tricks and moves from his master and repeat them on cue without fail. That's as smart as a dog can really get, and all that the shepherd required. He was, after all, smarter than the dog by far. He was master. And Michael, in turn, was sure he was smarter than the sheep. For sheep were fucking idiots. They just munched herbage all day and followed each other, so were dead easy to herd at the end of the day using the tricks his master had taught him. Yes, they were dumb, bleating creatures. He'd even met smarter spaniels, for fuck's sake. One word vocabulary for them all. Bah! Little did he know that it wasn't as basic a means of communication as he thought, for he did not speak sheep. He spoke dog, which was all about saying, "Someone at the door," or "I'm hungry," or "Thank you, master," or "I need to go shit." But the sheep could talk to each other. They just largely spoke about which bits of grass tasted better. They were, on the whole, very obedient sheep, with two exceptions. Two particularly mischievous ones who kept trying to foment revolt against Michael, which Michael couldn't know as he didn't understand sheep. There was also one very obedient sheep, the shepherd's favourite, which he had even named, calling her Eve. The shepherd sometimes let her into the kitchen to feed her treats. The other sheep looked up to her and followed where she led, as she was obviously special. Well, not all the other sheep. Two of them thought he was a craven shill to big farming. You've already guessed which two. Anyway, these two errant sheep had hatched a plan. They had tried to get others on board, but all they got back was, "That's bad. That's disobedient. We will get punished." But these two had noticed the dog had very limited moves and relied on the sheep all staying together. What if, during herding, rather than follow the others and move away from the dog, they both ran straight towards him and then past him, one either side? The dog wouldn't have a fucking clue. he would have to focus on the main herd, as he would not be allowed to leave that unattended, or to chase either of the two and risk hurting them with his stupid pointy teeth. So they agreed to put it to the test the next day. "Let's get that shit-eating stink breath," one said, and the other asked, "Who? The dog or the shepherd?" "Both, ideally," said the first, and they chuckled sheepishly. Next day, they put their plan into action, and it worked. Michael just stood there dumbfounded as they ran past him, one either side, as planned. To the left, one of them blew a noisy fart towards the dog, and to the right, the other yelled, "Catch me now, you dopey twat." But to the dog it just sounded like ba 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 ba. The shepherd was furious when he saw this. He ordered the dog to herd the rest of the flock, who were also transfixed in awe at the spectacle, and he chased after the two, all red-faced and sweating, but his poor diet of booze and rich meat meant it didn't take long before he had to stop, panting, his heart beating furiously. He had, after all, always relied on Michael to do the legwork. He returned to the farm incandescent with rage and took his fury out on Michael, whom he beat repeatedly. He told the dog there'd be no food for him tonight and that he could sleep outside. No more fireplace rests for him. Then the shepherd went up to Eve and said, "Come with me, Eve. I have a special treat for you." And he took her to the barn. There he opened his tool chest, took out the bolt gun, put it to the back of her head, and hit the trigger. Later that evening, as he chewed the last bits of meat from the roasted leg of lamb, he smiled, wiping the grease from his slack chin as he said, "That was super tasty, Eve. You served your master well." What? You want to know what happened to the two runaways? I don't have a fucking clue. Last I heard, they were wandering the moors, eating as they pleased, sleeping where they chose to lie. They certainly didn't end up on someone's plate. Their names, you ask?
They are the beasts of many names, and you shall know them by their raven black coats.